Who you are is really a piece of the divine. You know, you have the intelligence that creates worlds deep within you. How willing are you to do whatever it takes to align your behavior with this burning desire that has been placed inside of you? If you have anything on your unwilling list, well, I'm not willing to do this, and I can't afford that, and it means I might have to move here, and I might have to change this relationship, or I might have to change jobs, or I might have to go to, whatever it might be. If you read I Can See Clearly Now, you are listening to a man who was always willing to do whatever it took to fulfill that dharma, to climb that rung on the ladder, to help me to escape from this physical world and move into the world of spirit where all things are possible.
Wayne Dyer was an icon in self-development and spiritual growth. He wrote over 40 books, including an astonishing 21 New York Times bestsellers. His childhood was spent in orphanages and foster homes, but he'd go on to inspire millions and become known as the father of motivation.
In this exclusive radio show provided by our partners at Hay House, Wayne Dyer explains how to find real love, reinforce positivity in your life, and manifest your dreams.
And if you want even more great Hay House content, check out their YouTube channel. We've linked it up down in the description below.
Dr. Wayne Dyer joining us in Maui. Dr. Dyer, it's great to chat with you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. So my brother sent me, just before we take calls, I just want to read this. He sent me something that he was writing. My brother's a veteran, and he was in Vietnam. One day, a teacher asked her students to list the names of the other students in the room on 2 sheets of paper, leaving a space between each name. Then she told them to think of the nicest thing that they could say about each and every one of their classmates and to write it down. It took the remainder of the class period to finish their assignment, and as the students left the room, each one handed in the papers. That Saturday, the teacher wrote down the names of each student on a separate sheet of paper and listed what everyone else had said about that individual. On Monday, she gave each student his or her list. The entire class was smiling. Really, she heard whispered, "I never knew I meant so much to anyone, and I didn't know others liked me so much," were most of the comments. No one ever mentioned those papers in class again. She never knew if they discussed them after class or with their parents, but it didn't matter. The exercise had accomplished its purpose. The students were happy with themselves and one another. That group of students moved on. Several years later, one of the students was killed in Vietnam, and his teacher attended the funeral of that special student. She had never seen a serviceman in a military coffin before. He looked so handsome, so mature. The church was packed with his friends. One by one, those who loved him took a last walk by the coffin. The teacher was the last one to bless the coffin. As she stood there, one of the soldiers, who acted as a pallbearer, came up to her. "Were you Mark's math teacher?" he asked. She nodded yes. Then he said, "Mark talked about you a lot." After the funeral, most of Mark's former classmates went together for a luncheon. Mark's mother and father were there, obviously waiting to speak with the teacher. "We want to show you something," his father said, taking a wallet out of his pocket. "They found this on Mark when he was killed. We thought you might recognize it." Opening the billfold, he carefully removed 2 worn pieces of notebook paper that had obviously been taped, folded, and refolded many times. The teacher knew without looking that the papers were the ones on which she had listed all the things each of Mark's classmates had said about him. "Thank you so much for doing that," Mark's mother said. As you can see, Mark treasured it. All of Mark's former classmates started to gather around. Charlie smiled rather sheepishly and said, "I still have my list. It's in the top drawer of my desk at home." Chuck's wife said, "Chuck asked me to put this in our wedding album." "I have mine too," Marilyn said. "It's in my diary." Then Vicky, another classmate, reached into her pocketbook, took out her wallet, and showed her worn and frazzled list to the group. "I carry this with me at all times," Vicky said. And without batting an eyelash, she continued, "I think we all saved our lists." That's when the teacher finally sat down and cried. She cried for Mark and for all his friends that would never see him again. The density of people in society is so thick that we forget that life will end one day, and we don't know when that day will be. So please tell the people you love and care for that they are special and important. Tell them before it's too late. Yeah, I just thought that was such a beautiful message.
Wow, that is
and
beautiful.
What a wonderful thing to do in a classroom, because I remember years ago I came across some research in some of my reading, and I jotted it down, and I used this in a lot of my earlier talks, that there's a tribe in the northern part of South Africa where whenever anybody in the tribe gets out of line, misbehaves, starts acting crazy, does things that are inappropriate, whatever it might be, gets angry, lashes out at people, whatever, that everybody in the tribe would gather around, and they would put the person in the middle of the circle. And everybody in the circle and everybody in the tribe would go around and say to this recalcitrant, troublemaking person sitting in the center what they liked about him, what they loved about him. And rather than all of them pointing out all the things they didn't like and the things that were wrong, they just consistently would tell them how wonderful they are, how much they were treasured, what they liked about them, and so on. And that would end the problem. And they had almost no disciplinary problems in this particular tribe because the focus was always on looking at what you like, looking at what's positive, instead of continuously looking out from behind your eyeballs and seeing people the way you think they should be, or seeing, and expecting the world to be different than it really is. And sending love and appreciation to people. That story, I don't know if it's a true story or if it's apocryphal. My brother sent it to me, but I think it's got a lot of implications. And you school teachers out there who might be listening, what a wonderful idea to do in a classroom, especially in a classroom where everybody knows each other, to let them hear the things that people don't say enough about how much they're loved and how much they're treasured, and so on.
I love that story.
This lesson. Yeah, I learned this lesson personally years ago with one of my children who was having some issues with prescription drugs. And what I did, I don't know how long ago this was, 20-some years ago, I called a family meeting, and I had everybody in the family tell this person, one of my children, how upset it made them to see her behaving in these ways, and the impact that it had on them, and the impact that it had on mom and on dad and on the family and so on. And each person, as they would go around, would be saying, negative things to this person and just reinforcing perhaps the reasons why these prescription drugs were being used in the first place. And it was a very important lesson for me to learn that if I were to do that over, and I did do it over later, is to put that same person in the room, and instead of having everybody point out what you don't like and what's wrong and what's missing and how you're hurting everybody else and so on, but instead to say to that person, have each person talk about all the things about them that they love, the things that they treasure, that they remember about them. So that came out of my own learning experience, and I just thought I wanted to share that here this morning, because so often, so many of the calls that we take here on the radio show are a reflection of the one thing that I think everybody out there wants. Everybody wants to know that they are loved. And, that story about him carrying that around with him for his whole life, it's like whenever he would have any doubts about that, he would open that little piece of paper that he carried and be reminded about how valuable he is, how loved he is, how terrific he is. We all need to know that. And I think if we did that, not only could we change the consciousness in our families, but we could change it in our communities, in our country, which God knows needs a lot of bringing together. We become the divided states of America instead of the United States of America. And the same thing globally and in the world, because with what's going on in Gaza today and what's, with planes being shot down out of the air, and we've got to look within and find, in our neighbors and in our people, especially the ones that annoy us, what about them that we love rather than what about them that we hate. It's a good way to focus in our life. As I say in my stationery, loving people live in a loving world, and hostile people live in a hostile world. And it's the same world. It's the same world. Just decide what kind of person you're going to be. St. John of the Cross, who was a 16th century Spanish mystic and a saint in the Catholic Church, was the person who really coined the term the dark night of the soul. Said that he had one quote that I've always remembered. He said, "Where there is no love, put love, and you will find love." And I think that really speaks to compassion. And if you really want to find love, just look where there is no love, particularly, in some of the kinds of things that are going on in the world today, and put love there, and then you will find love. And in your daily relationships with each other, it's a good lesson. Just put some love there, and guess what? That's exactly what you'll see coming back to you.
And that was St. John of the Cross?
Yeah, St. John of the Cross. Yeah, he was a Spanish mystic. He spent a lot of his years in prison. I read a whole biography of him not too long ago. Yeah, beautiful man, like a monk. Yeah.
I love that ancient wisdom.
Yes. It's pretty modern, too.
Yeah, and it still fits.
Right.
So you ready to share with some people here?
I am. Let's see who's out there. Who would like to talk to me this morning?
Well, this is a cool name, so I'd like to start with her, Leilani. Okay. Leilani in Denver.
That's a very common name here in Maui.
Is it?
Yeah, and there's a restaurant about 700 yards from where I live called Leilani's here on Maui. So you hear a lot of Hawaiian people, but I'll bet you this lady has some Hawaiian background.
Are you, Leilani? Welcome to the show. Are you from Hawaii?
Aloha. No, I was not born in Hawaii, but I spent some time on the Big Island.
Ah, well,
I'm
welcome.
a little nervous, Dr. Dyer. Thank you. I woke up this morning and I said, I'm going to talk to Dr. Dyer today, and it's happening.
And it's happening. Good for you. It's because of that name of yours, that Leilani. How did you get that name? How come your mom named you Leilani?
It means heavenly flower, and they like this song called Sweet Leilani.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Well, great. Okay, Heavenly Flower, what's on your mind, my dear?
Well, a couple things. Dr. Dyer, I'm involved with the Crystal Water Healing Project, and I want to send you some free crystals to put in the oceans on September 21st.
Okay.
And we just say a chant. It's a global project, aqualuz.org. And we are
what is it? Say it again. Say it slower so we know. Aqua?
AQUA, luz, LUZ.org. We're having a global water healing event on September 21st, and we're passing around crystals around the globe. And you infuse the crystal with your light and love and place it in the water.
I love that. What a nice idea.
Okay. And I called you because I had the merit to hear you at I Can Do It in Denver, and that event changed my life.
How so?
Well, because your story about how everything in your life has lined up and how you've taken the pain of your childhood and that has brought you light.
Yeah,
and
I can see clearly now.
I believe my Dharma involves traveling. I'm a world traveler and I love it so much. And helping people. So I envision traveling the world and helping women and children heal from trauma. But I'm just me. I don't have a family. I'm just this person with this big dream, and I'd like your guidance on how to manifest it.
Well, you don't need my guidance. Every desire that we have is placed there by an intelligence, the same intelligence that, I'm looking out my window right now at all these palm trees, and I'm looking over to and I see birds just flitting by here, building a nest of some kind. And I look over at the ocean, and I'll be in the ocean in a little while, and I look at all of these creatures that are down there, and there goes another bird. And whatever intelligence it is that is moving everything in the universe also is what places these desires inside of us. It isn't something that we can do with our human personality, because our human personality has no idea even what a desire is or what a thought is. We are restricted to our senses, what we can touch, what we can see, what we can feel, what is physical, what has form, what has beginning, what has ends, and so on. But thoughts and desires are outside of that realm completely. You can't get a hold of a thought. How many thoughts can you put in a quart bottle? It's infinite. So whatever it is that places these desires inside of us, it's what I call our impersonality, the impersonal part of us, that which is in everything. And that placed that in there for you, Leilani. It's that burning desire is there. And it wasn't you, Leilani, when you said it, you're just me. You're not just me. That's just a belief system that you have that identifies you on the basis of what you can see with your eyes and what you can touch with your hands and what you can smell with your nose and so on. But who you are is really a piece of the divine. You have the intelligence that creates worlds deep within you. It's who you are, and it placed that in there, this whole crystal project and the things that you want to do and the traveling, and helping people, women, and so on. All you have to do is not let yourself get distracted from this intelligence that was placed in there. You have to remind yourself, why do I have such a desire to do this? What does this come from? And then you stop yourself and say, well, the answer to that isn't going to be found in my human self. It's going to be found in my spiritual self. So I have to just let go of that and just trust that whatever it is that placed it in there for me, and I can't let it go. And it's like, I call it your excitement. You get so excited about this. The reason that you're excited about it is because you're aligned with your Dharma. You're aligned with what it is that you came into this world to be. That's why it feels good, because feeling good and feeling God are exactly the same thing. There's zero difference between good and God, 1-0. So now you trust in that and you say, okay, this wasn't me that placed this in here, and so I'm going to allow myself to surrender to it. And I'm going to trust that whatever intelligence it is that placed that in there for me is also going to place next to me or within my grasp all of the tools and everything that I need to be able to fulfill it and to actualize it. And this is what I Can See Clearly is about. Now you have to move into the ladder that I've spoken about so many times here on the show, that Rumi said that when we are born, a ladder is placed before us to help us to escape from this world. That is, to escape from the belief that our senses are the things that are our reality. So now you have these rungs on this ladder. And the rungs on the ladder are things that I call willingness. Like, how willing are you to do whatever it takes to align your behavior with this burning desire that has been placed inside of you? You know, and if you have anything on your unwilling list, well, I'm not willing to do this, and I can't afford that, and it means I might have to move here, and I might have to change this relationship, or I might have to change jobs, or I might have to go to, you know, whatever it might be. If you read I Can See Clearly Now, you are listening to a man who was always willing to do whatever it took to fulfill that Dharma, to climb that rung on the ladder, to help me to escape from this physical world and move into the world of spirit, where all things are possible. You know, with God, all things are possible. And as I always ask my audience now, what does that leave out? So willingness and determination is another rung on that ladder, and compassion that Diane mentioned earlier is on that ladder, and fearlessness, like how many times do I let my fears that I might fail, fears that I won't have enough money, fears that other people won't approve of me, letting go all of that, because the same force that is growing your fingernails every single night, independent of your opinion about it, no matter how much you may say to yourself tonight when you go to bed, I'm not going to have these fingernails grow. I'm tired of them growing, and I got to cut them all the time and color them. I'm going to stop it. There's a force that is greater than your physical self that just grows your fingernails. And that's the same force that placed that desire in you. And now you move to the ultimate on the ladder. You say, okay, I'm willing. That's why I wrote I Can See Clearly Now, to let people see that when you come to a fork in the road and you're not sure which way to turn and you trust your intuition, you'll be guided. You'll be guided by what inside of you is just what I call your excitement, but it's really your alignment with the universal source. It's what Abraham calls the law of attraction. And that's how you do it, my dear, until you ultimately get to the top of the ladder, where you look around yourself and you say, you know, I'm really not here as a human being at all, having a spiritual experience. My true essence, who I am as a human being, is I am really a spiritual being. I'm an infinite spiritual being, having a very temporary human experience. And I'm going to trust in that and live from that place. So now I'm going to start doing what I wrote about in Wishes Fulfilled. I'm going to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I'm going to feel what it feels like to be doing this thing that you've described to me, not as something that I'm going to do if everything works out, but as an already accomplished fact, you know, in your mind. And then you begin to act in that way, and you start to align with all of the forces that make everything happen in the world. And that's my rant.
Beautiful.
Makes sense.
I wish you were my father. You're so amazing.
Well, I am your father. You know, we're all each other's children and all each other's brothers and sisters. We're truly the same intelligence that created you, that brought you into this world, brought me into this world. We originated from the same place. There's only one source. There's only one.
Beautiful. Is there any way I can send you? I have a crystal that actually takes toxins out of the water called shungite. And I'd love to send you some. How do I just wait and talk to the people?
No, here's what you do. When you hang up, what we're going to do is you leave your address, and we're going to send you a brand new book that was written by my daughter, Serena, and myself, called Don't Die, with your music still inside of you. And also my other daughter's CD, which is called Letting Go. We're going to send you both of those as a gift to everyone that calls in today. And the person that takes down the address will give you my address here on Hawaii, and then you can just mail it to me directly right here on Maui.
I love you, Dr. Dyer. Thank you for being a light in the world. Aloha.
Thank you so much. Aloha. God bless you. Namaste.
God bless. Namaste.
And we'll get that out to Leilani, or I'll get her information and send the address, because I give her my address
as well. Yeah, I want to get the crystals. I want my water purified.
That's great.
Water is such a big thing. I mean, she was talking.
Is.
I would like to have gone into that, because someday I'd like to do a show on water. As I've told you before, I do an ayahuasca ceremony about once a month now, and I'll go into that maybe sometime as well. But one of the lectures that was given in the middle of that ceremony, the last time I was there about a month ago, was a talk on water. It was a gratitude for water. And, you know, when I did the Tao, and I was a Taoist for a year in 2005, when I wrote Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, based on the Tao Te Ching, 27 verses in the Tao mention water and what we have to learn from it, and how it's, you know, the essence of it. And this talk that was given and these songs that were sung as a tribute to water, and just being in it, it's like gratitude is one of the big themes in my life these days. You know, in my talks, I now thank my audience very often for all the wonderful things that have come into my life, because they've decided, you know, that I would be someone whose books they would buy, or whose lectures they would listen to, or whose lectures they would pay to come and hear. And I'm in that state of gratitude. And I think water is one of the things, and air and fire, you know, and these kinds of things that we just simply take for granted. And then our livers, you know, we should have Liver Appreciation Day, you know, every single day. Because without that liver, you know, there's not many breaths that you're going to take. And water is one of the things that I feel very strongly about, that it's being contaminated in our world.
Well, it's certainly an important issue around the world, and something, I mean, you're right, we do take it for granted, you know, here in the States. We're a little more aware, I think, in Southern California, because we're drying up here and we have no water.
And then on the East Coast, we're in floods. And I've often given this metaphor. I don't know if I've done it on the radio show or not, but I will, since it's come up. It's like balance. We're just out of balance. And consciousness, we know that our consciousness impacts everything in our environment. You know, I was looking at some studies of the impact that our thoughts have on plants. You know, when you're around plants, and plants know that you're someone who doesn't respect them, or has got hate in your heart, they close up and so on. And when you come at plants with love and so on, you know, we know that our consciousness impacts simple things like plants and the animals, and of course each other as well. And if our consciousness impacts the environment, and our environment is really out of whack, it seems to me these days. I mean, so many floods and so many fires. I mean, there's a huge fire up in the West Coast, up in Washington, that's out of control. And then on the East Coast, we got a country that is divided, you know, the divided states of America on one coast. And what is happening physically in our planet is that we're so out of balance that we're on one hand, we're all the way with water, all the way to the left, there is no water, it's drought. And on the other hand of the country, we have so much of it that it's drowning us. And that there's some connection in there somewhere between, if we know that the thoughts that we have impact our plants around us, certainly we know that collectively, if enough of us have thoughts of division and hatred and what we don't like about each other, that collectively is going to impact everything in our culture. And so we've really got to get back to a place where we're thinking and living and loving as one, rather than in a divided way. Yeah.
So true. We're all connected in that universal field, right?
Yes, we certainly are.
So
all right,
where should we go next?
That was a long rant this morning. That was my coffee.
But it's good when you get on a roll. You know, it's always something good.
I like it myself. I go back and say, that was brilliant. Who said that?
Right.
Was that me?
Write it down.
Right.
So let's go to Amy, and she's on line 3. And Amy, I know people probably say Missouri. It's Missouri or Missouri? Well, how do you say it?
I say Missouri.
Okay.
It's the show me state. It's the show me state.
It is the show me state.
Right.
Dr. Dyer, I have to say thank you for taking my call. Listening to you, I'm not even sure why I called, except for to say, first of all, the story you shared about the teacher.
Yeah, isn't that great?
My third grade teacher did that.
Really? Tell me about it.
I still have those. What she did was we had a student of the week every week, and we would sit down, and the child would sit in the front, and she would go student by student and write down something nice about that student that the other classmates shared, and it would hang on the wall for the entire week. And so I actually got to do it twice that year because we ran out of students, and it's something that I kept forever. I still have them.
Now see, what motivated me to write, I can see clearly now. I don't know. Have you read that? Have you had a chance to read that yet?
No, I have not.
Make a note, Diane. We're going to send her a copy of that, okay? She's the one person left in the world who hasn't read it.
Send it out.
But in the writing of that, I was really motivated to write that, just to let people know that feeling that it was motivated. I actually decided to write it. I was reading a book called To Know We Are Loved by Rashad Field, and that's F-E-I-L-D for some reason. He's a Sufi. And he said that it's the one thing that all of us just want to have in our lives. If this is taken care of, all of the other things that we call problems dissolve right away. And that's just to know that we are loved. And imagine, you said as a third grader, that was like many, many years ago for you, and you probably have carried that thing around or you've referred back to it, and it's just a confirmation that, hey, I'm not only loved by my fellow students and my family and all of that, but I'm loved by a divine intelligence as well. I'm loved by whatever it is that is love. It's like Jesus said, God is love. If we came from love, then, when we have love in us, we have God in us, and we become God when we have love inside of us. Yeah, and to know that we are loved. So you carried that around with you, did you, for your lifetime?
Yes, I still have them out in my garage. They're on little cardboard paper. Uh-huh. Really great. But, so I actually wanted to be a third grade teacher because of that. That's what I was going to do with my life when I grew up.
Wow. I love that.
For a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you. Go ahead.
My question really was, I'm at kind of a unique place in my life. I've spent a lot of time trying to energetically clear blocks from my past, and I've wanted to do a documentary for about 21 years now, and recently have been offered the opportunity to do that, but I find that as I'm supposed to be working on the storyboard and things, that I get stuck and just don't do it. And I want to do it. I'm very excited about it, and I just don't know what old patterns are coming up for me and how I can figure out what they are so that I can clear them and not lose out on this opportunity that I really want.
Okay, so the biggest blockage that you have, you've already demonstrated in your question. And that is, seriously, I mean, I'm not being critical. It's that, you can never accomplish anything unless you can first expect it of yourself. So the question I would have for you, Amy, would be, what do you expect from yourself? Now you want to do a documentary, and you know that there are going to be obstacles, and they're going to be different. There's going to be, this is going to come up, and that's going to come up, and that isn't, But have you already seen the finished product? See, when I start to write a book, for example, I'm already in the process of that. I want to share a little bit about what's happening with me in that in a future show right now, because it's just been overwhelming. I already have the completed book, a picture of it in front of me that I look at every single day. And so that'd be the first thing I would recommend, is seeing it already completed and fulfilled. If it's going to be a DVD or whatever it's going to be, however you're going to create it, get the packaging for it, even if it's going to change. See it, look at it, so that every time you look at it, you've already assumed the feeling that is emotionally inside of you, because emotions are what move this creative process, your feelings. And if you're feeling, just like what it feels like to know that you've accomplished this, if you could get that feeling now in this moment, and then what you do is you align with the universal source, the divine mind that allows everything to take place. You're aligned with it because that universal source always says yes. And so the funding will start to show up, the right people will start to show up. This is how this whole process works. It's getting past the doubt. I think the first the very first obstacle to higher consciousness is, I used to call it banishing the doubt. Shakespeare said, our doubts are our traitors. You said, I'm afraid old patterns are going to show up. That's a doubt, Instead of your mind saying, there's nothing in my past that will do anything to prevent me from fulfilling this vision that I've already seen as an accomplished fact. There is nothing that I have ever experienced that will ever allow me to interfere with it. So you're starting from a place of banishing the doubt, and then you shut down that inner dialogue. That's another obstacle to higher consciousness, is this constant inner kind of thing about this isn't going to work out, and what if it doesn't, and what if I don't, and all of the what ifs and the maybes and the hurts and the fears and so on, all of that stuff just gets rolled in there. Meantime, Maslow used to say to us that a self-actualized person is someone who never places into their imagination anything that they do not want to manifest into their real life. So they would never put a thought into them about, I'd like to do this, I'd like to really accomplish this, I know this is something that I'm really born to do. It's a burning desire that's been placed in there by me. But, and then here comes all of the stuff that is going to interfere with you. And so that inner dialogue is a constant kind of, this is, it's based on feeling that you don't have the ability or the desire or that you're not smart enough or that you're, whatever it might be. And all of that stuff. Whereas a self-actualized person already sees it as an accomplished fact, and just like any obstacle that shows up, they just see that as just something to get around or to, you're even grateful for those obstacles because, it's often been said that every advance that we make towards a higher spiritual place in our life is almost always preceded by a fall of some kind or another. So that all of the things that most people call obstacles and so on, to a self-actualized person, this is just another stepping stone in order to allow myself to get to this place that I've already been in my imagination. Because, Amy, the greatest gift that you were ever given from the moment that you were conceived is the gift of your imagination. You can place anything in there that you want to have in there. And there is nothing that anyone can do to take it away from you. And that everything, William Blake said that everything that now exists was once imagined. So I used to tell my kids that, crazy sentences like this, that the law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation of the sinking of things. When the Wright brothers went, down to Kitty Hawk, they weren't contemplating the staying on the ground of things. They were contemplating the getting off the ground of things, and they wouldn't have any other thoughts into their consciousness. And that's why we have airplanes, because somebody, had that vision that was so strong inside of them that they would never allow the opposite, that is, that this isn't going to work out. I used to use that example of Thomas Edison when he was trying to invent the electric filament and for the light bulb. And someone said to him, how does someone as famous as you, who's tried 25,000 different combinations, feel about failing 25,000 times? And his answer was classic. He said, I don't know what you're talking about, failure. He said, today I know 25,000 ways not to make a battery. That's what it was, a battery. So anyway,
I just heard my answer so clearly in that I am thinking about what's preventing me from doing it and not doing it.
Exactly.
That's
exactly. And you become what you think about all day long. Like I'm in the process. I'm going to write a book that, and I had made up my mind I wasn't going to write a book, any more books a couple of years ago, and now I'm working on, I've written another one I can see clearly now, and then, I'm working on another one. And it's like I am so open and I have so surrendered, and I'm so, every morning when I wake up, I woke up this morning at 5 o'clock, and I just take these 2 crystals and I put them in my hand. I meditate for like an hour, just asking for the guidance to be able to write this book on a subject that I, truthfully don't feel knowledgeable enough. I don't feel like I know enough, and yet it's just something that it just won't go away. And a lot of it is based on this idea about burning desires that I've been speaking about, that, this impersonal self of us, and wanting to make that really clear and to take the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and bring it all together in this final book that I feel is writing itself through me. But I never, ever allow the thought that I can't do it. I just say to myself, whatever I need will be there at the time that I need it. And I'm coming from a complete and total place of knowing that this is something that I have to fulfill before I leave this earth. That's where you have to get to, my love. That's where you have to get to. And I'm going to send you, I Can See Clearly Now, and I'm going to send you Don't Die With Your Music Still In You with Serena Dyer, which is a wonderful book about what it was like to be raised around crazy people like me. And my daughter Sky singing Letting Go, singing the beautiful song that I danced with Serena to at her wedding on the 1st of July 3 weeks ago. She's already the long-term marriage, Diane. 3 weeks, they're still together.
It's going great.
And my daughter Sky sang that beautiful song.
The photos on Facebook with her are beautiful.
Oh, you saw that? Oh,
yes, of course.
Yeah. I know. I posted that because I wanted everybody to see what a beautiful bride, what a beautiful day. It was truly one of the happiest days of my life.
Yes,
so.
They are beautiful. And I have a bag that I purchased from one of your daughters that an I Can Do It.
Oh, sure, Tracy, my daughter Tracy, an urban junket. Yeah, if you ever want to know about those, she makes them out of recycled plastic water bottles. I mean, they're so beautiful. Yeah, Well, thank you, Amy. Where in Missouri? Where are you from? Where in Missouri?
Nixa, Missouri. I actually work in Branson, Missouri, but 30 minutes away. So.
Yeah, that's the home of Harry Truman. Independence, Missouri.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my dear.
Very much.
You're very welcome. Leave your address. God bless you. Thanks for a nice call.
Thank you.
That's great advice, too. A lot of people struggle with that. I'm sure that's going to help.
With what?
With just getting in their own way, some self-sabotage
and
those negative thought patterns.
I was swimming in a pool up in Minneapolis when I was visiting Tracy, and there was a slogan written on the wall for the swimming team. And every time I would go in one direction, I would look up, and I had my head turned that way. I would read this slogan, and I swam that day for a full hour. And so I must have read it, 100 times, and it said, if you want to create something in your life, you must first be able to expect it of yourself. And I would think about that as I was swimming. I'd think, it's really just about what are my expectations for me. And if my expectations are how difficult something's going to be, it can't work out, I can't afford it, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old, whatever it might be, if those are your thoughts, that's what you expect from yourself. The universal subconscious mind aligns with that thought that you have continuously and offers you experiences that match up to it. It gives you all the things that you've said you want. So it's really shifting that around. Right.
It's a good reminder, especially for me, because I'm kind of entering into this home buying realm that I've avoided for a long time. And, so I'm just thinking, hey, the right situation will align.
But
and
the best thing,
right
Diane,
thing I'll find will be great.
I can't tell you how many letters I've had from people over the years, thousands of people, and especially about houses, people who get a vision in their imagination of what it is and what it looks like, and after they do that for a while, they can actually see it. They can see the color. They can see what the lawn looks like. They can see what the road, they can see everything about it. And then one day, they look, and there it is, and it's impossible for them not to get it. That's how powerful, our ability to visualize and manifest. That's how everything happens. Everything happens from our thoughts. All right, let's see if we can get another call in this morning.
Squeeze in a few more people.
Yeah.
I like this one. Allie in Los Angeles, she's on line 5, and I know a lot of people feel disconnected from friends and family and would like to feel closer. So I'm sure people can relate to what Allie's going through. And welcome to the show, Allie. You're on with Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Allie.
Hi. So, my family, I think I just basically rejected them when I was a little kid, and I moved away. I was able to manifest another home. And
How old were you, Allie?
10.
You were 10. You decided one day to leave, or?
No, I wanted before that, and then when I was 10, an opportunity arose, and I moved into a home for kids.
Okay.
And it was my choice. I got to choose, and then I was brought to another country by my father, who they got divorced when I was 7. I guess America. I was brought to America, and I'm now ready, I think, to reconnect. But I've noticed that even with my present family, I have some closeness, but there's still a part of me, like I can be vulnerable with myself, I can be vulnerable with a stranger, but I don't really feel safe. I mean, when I'm with my family, I'm just not vulnerable. I'm just neutral.
Which family? Your original family you're speaking of?
Any family. My current and my,
Well, when you say current, what is your current family? Is it?
Yes, and my husband.
It's your husband and children?
Yes.
Okay, and then now this family that you would like to reconnect to, who does that consist of?
Sister, brother, mother, my father who's in New York. Yeah, that's that.
Okay. So, and have you been estranged from them for all these years?
Yes.
Okay, and now there's something inside of you, and what is that something inside of you? What is this burning desire inside of you saying to you about reconnecting with this original family? What's the motivation behind that? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I want to open and step more into myself, and I have to let go of these patterns of rejection. And I don't actively reject and hate them or anything. I just decided that they weren't working for me, and I needed to find something that was going to support my needs better.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what I did. It's like I shut down in some way, and I've done that with all humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's shifting inside of me, but I'm still, even people want to get close to me, and I'm just neutral. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you listened to the whole show? Were you on at the beginning of the show?
Yeah.
When I read that little piece about the school teacher and the children in the third grade?
I wouldn't have trusted what anybody had said. That I don't believe that they would have said something that nice. It would have been just polite. That would have been a story. I can change that now. I can think of and purposely, but that was.
Let me ask you this: do you believe in God, or like some kind of divine presence that allows things to come into the world? Doesn't matter what we call it, but that there is some kind of. And do you believe that whatever that God is, whatever, do you believe that it's loving?
I had an experience in meditation where I was able to see love, and I was able to see how it was constantly surrounding all of us. And the only reason a person doesn't experience or see it is because they're participating in some form of rejection of experience.
So, Allie, let me ask you this, because we only have a few minutes left, and I think it's really important for you to try this little exercise. Just imagine God, the source from which all things are come, and the thing that we know about God, is that there's no place that it is not, that it is eternal, that it is omniscient, that it is all-knowing and all-powerful, and that it is eternal. So most of the great philosophical teachers will tell us that if you ask them what is real, how do you define reality, they will say that is real, which never changes. That is real, which is eternal. If it's not eternal, it's not real. So that all hatred, for example, is really not real. All evil is really not real because it's not eternal. It doesn't the only thing that is eternal is this love. Okay, so this is your source of being. It wasn't your parents. It wasn't, that brother and mother and sister that you would like to reunite with. Where you originally came from is where everything originates from, this original source of being. Try to imagine yourself in a conversation with this source of being that is nothing but pure love. God is love. It's just pure love. And asking this source what it thinks about you, Allie. How does it feel about you? Now remember, it is pure love, and you came from it. So, and the only thing that it knows, it's just oneness. The only thing that it knows is love. That's why it gives off these little sparks like you and me and everything that ever shows up into this world. And in a conversation with this source, ask it, what do you think of me? And what do you think it would say?
You're okay.
Yeah. Okay, just okay. Let me say, just okay? Let me try to give you go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just felt like that part of me was feeling defensive, and like I'm refusing to. So
let me try to be God and speak to you, Allie. You are a part of me. You are a spark of me. I am love. I am pure love. That's all I am, is pure love. There's nothing but me. There's no opposites. I'm in a world in which there is no opposite of love. There is no hatred. There's no bitterness. These are concepts that I don't even know anything about because I'm only pure love. And you are a piece of that. You are a part of that. And therefore, to me, you are nothing but an expression of the highest thing that there is in this universe, the highest force that there is, and it's pure love. That's what you are. And that's how I feel about you. All I can do is love you because you are so precious to me that I gave up a little tiny piece of myself to have you show up in this world. That's how perfect you are. And when I don't recognize you is when you go into the reasons why there's something wrong with you, the reasons that you're bad, or the reasons that you might have come up with in your own mind to place anything negative about yourself in your mind. It's not possible. You are me. I am you. And all I have for you is love. I don't know how that resonates with you. I just got it in my ear that we just have less than a minute left in the show. But I'd like to send you a copy. Have you read I Can See Clearly Now?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'd like to send that to you. And also my daughter's book, Don't Die with Your Music Still in You. Great lesson for that in you. And also Sky's Letting Go. 3 little packages, all for you today, Allie, because you're just so loved. Thanks for your call and everyone else's call. It was a great show today. I love you all. Namaste.
To watch another amazing Wayne Dyer video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
What you have to ask yourself is, what direction am I going? I mean, who you are, who all of us are, our source energy, we have it within us. But the problem is that we walk away from it. It's like you can't walk away from what you are. And what you are has a spark of God in you.